This episode is sponsored by Mesmo. If your team is collecting large volumes of logs, metrics, and traces, but still struggling to get timely answers, Mesmo can help. Mesmo is an active telemetry platform that processes and enriches observability data in real time before it's stored or analyzed. That means lower data volume, lower cost, and faster root cause analysis across your existing observability tools. To see how it works, get a demo at mesmo.com/codestory. That's MEZMO.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by BrainGrid. If you are building with AI coding tools, but your features keep breaking, you need to check out BrainGrid. It is the product management agent for AI builders. BrainGrid turns messy ideas into clear specs, tasks, and prompts that coding agents like Cursor and Claude can actually build the right way. Ship real software, not fragile prototypes. Start free at braingrid.ai. This episode is brought to you by The Build, a new podcast from the guys behind Sincera, Mike O'Sullivan and Ian Myers. They built their company by figuring out clever solutions to a few important ad tech problems in their industry. And that's exactly what this show is about. Mike and Ian interview some of the smartest tech minds in the biz to hear about how they identified opportunities, solved their hardest challenges, and grew their businesses in the process. Listen to The Build with Mike O'Sullivan wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by .tech Domains, and this one hits close to home. Back in 2016, I was building my startup and went hunting for that perfect .com and found next to nothing. So I did what every founder does, settled. Here's what I wish someone had told me. You're building a tech startup, just get a .tech domain. It instantly tells investors and customers what you're about. Don't overthink it. Secure your .tech domain today from any registrar of your choice. This episode is sponsored by Unblocked. Unblocked is the context layer your agents are missing. It synthesizes your PRs, docs, Slack, and tickets into organizational context that agents actually understand. So they make better plans, write higher quality code, use fewer tokens, and require fewer correction loops. If you're running Claude Code, Cursor, or any agentic workflow, Unblocked is worth a look. Learn more at getunblocked.com/codestory.
So I think the next most important thing for a self-improving system is to solve problems that are its own bottleneck. And interestingly, solving problems towards energy and compute are probably the most important bottlenecks that AI systems face themselves today. And that's why some of the partnerships we're working on and we've been doing are with labs that work on energy and compute. So we work with quantum physicists, we work on new energy technologies, we work with scientists across these domains. Getting the AI to solve problems in these domains is one of the important strategies we've taken towards actually building this technology as well. I'm Kunal Bhatia. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Hexo Labs.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
Spent 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing on the back end.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do next.
Took many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their back.
A company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve
Most
more.
proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was
Yes, we've been fighting it as we grow.
Total waste of time.
The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took it
you.
off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really want it. Not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story.
I'm your host, Noah Lappard, and today how Kunal Bhatia is focused on building self-improving AI to the point of enabling AI to build things themselves. Kunal Bhatia is originally from India, but moved to the Bay Area to start building his company. He admits there is quite a contrast between the two places, but originally he was from Bangalore, which is like the Silicon Valley of India, so the professional transition felt familiar. He's worked in AI for 12 years and is on his third company in the AI space. Outside of tech, he's married with a 3-year-old daughter. He and his family love to go on hikes and be outdoors. Kunal and his team have been researching AI technologies within their current venture. In particular, they were focused on building self-improving AI. Beyond that, they started building and thinking about how to build the AI platform that builds all other technology. This is the creation story of Hexo Labs.
So we're a research lab coming out of stealth with this launch that we just made. Our focus is on building self-improving AI, right? And the interesting thing is, what is self-improving AI? We're trying to build the end game of the whole AI trend itself, right? Where is AI going to? It's basically going to a point where AI starts building itself. Now, how did we get here, right? So interestingly, me and my co-founder started Hexo as a company which was doing consulting services. We used to go out to a whole bunch of customers, ask them, what kind of AI do you want built out? We would just build it for them. And in the process, our customer pipeline grew so much and we weren't able to deliver at the same speed. And that's when one of the questions I asked my co-founder is that, what if an AI could build AI, right? We're building all this AI for all our customers. What if an AI could build this itself? And that's where the genesis of this idea and direction came from. We've both been in the AI space for over a decade now. So I think we knew what the limitations of the technology are and where it's going to. And I think now where we see this trend going as well, right? The bet is on the technology itself. Can we build the technology that builds every other technology in the future? Because it's like, we think of it like the last invention that humans would make. Because if AI can start building AI and building itself and it can self-improve to solve any problem, you actually have something that can outperform us on almost every task.
Tell me what the MVP for Hexo Labs is then, the platform to build all of the rest of the technologies. What does the MVP look like for you guys? How long did it take to build and what sort of tools are you using to bring it to life?
So we just launched our paper. It's called Self-Improving AI, SIA. This is actually, in a way, an MVP, because given that we're a research lab, we're not like most of the other enterprise AI companies where we have a product and we sell it right now. Right now, we're more into core research, and we're doing research around how self-improving AI systems would work and how it would be built. So this is our first paper that's come out, and we have a whole bunch of other work that's going on, which will get released in the next couple of weeks to a few months. How does the MVP of this look, right? I think the bet right now is that if AI can start building better versions of itself, can it start solving hard problems? That's the goal, right? If it can solve any hard problem, then I think the challenge is not so much in what the product looks like. It's more like, how do we pick the right problems for it to solve? So we're already actually working with some of the top labs in the country and globally as well to help them solve some of these hard problems. So we work with a couple of labs at Stanford. We work with Lawrence Livermore. We work with UC Santa Barbara. We work with University of Oxford. We're working with the researchers in all of these places, right? And we're actually getting our agent to work on some of these extremely hard problems that some of these researchers work across quantum technologies, across energy, across particle physics, across even AI research, right? And biomedical research as well. So interestingly, I think AI being able to solve some of these problems is, I think, the real impact or the MVP we look at.
This episode is brought to you by The Build, a new podcast from the guys behind Sincera, Mike O'Sullivan and Ian Myers. They built their company by figuring out clever solutions to a few important ad tech problems in the industry, and that's exactly what this show is about. Mike and Ian interview some of the smartest tech minds at Magnite, Chalice, DoubleClick, and LiveRamp to hear about how they identified opportunities, solved their hardest challenges, and grew their businesses in the process. This show is for you if you've had some of these breakthrough moments yourself, or if you're seeking inspiration for the next one. Listen to The Build with Mike O'Sullivan wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by .tech Domains, and this one hits close to home. Back in 2016, when I was building my own tech startup, I went on the hunt for that elusive.com. Looked high, looked low, and guess what I found? Nothing. What I did find cost me an arm and a leg. So I did what every founder does under pressure. Threw in extra letters, settled for the less than optimal name. And here's what I wish someone had said to me back then. Noah, you're building a tech startup. Just get a .tech domain. Techstartup.tech domain. It could not be more obvious. It tells investors, customers, and anyone who looks at your website, really, that tech is at the core of your build. And I've kicked myself plenty since. Especially when I see the clean and sharp names tech companies have landed on .tech. Nothing.tech, 1x.tech, Aurora.tech, CES.tech, Ultra.tech, Alice.tech, Neon.tech, Blaze.tech, Pi.tech. You get the idea. So take it from someone who learned it the hard way. If you're building a tech startup, don't overthink it. Secure your .tech domain today from any registrar of your choice.
So you've got that MVP, which is the white paper, the paper that you published and where you're headed there. How are you planning to progress and mature this? What are the next steps now that you've released that? And I'm curious about, to liken that question, I'm curious about where you would, or how you would go about building your roadmap for self-improving AI, and then also the AI that builds all the other technology. How do you take that forward? How do you decide what the next most important thing to do is?
So I think the next most important thing for a self-improving system is to solve problems that are its own bottleneck. And interestingly, solving problems towards energy and compute are probably the most important bottlenecks that AI systems face themselves today. And that's why some of the partnerships we're working on and we've been doing are with labs that work on energy and compute. So we work with quantum physicists, we work on new energy technologies, we work with scientists across these domains in some of these top universities. And getting the AI to solve problems in these domains and these extremely bleeding edge frontier domains is one of the important strategies we've taken is towards actually building this technology as well. So the AI actually works, like some of these labs work with our AI systems to solve their problems and inadvertently probably unlock new IP that could itself be monetized potentially in the future.
I'm curious about team, Kunal. I'm curious about how you built your team. And to do something like this, you have to have the right people at the helm. I'm curious of what you look for in those people to indicate that they're the winning horses to join you.
So we do have a whole bunch of researchers, AI researchers on our team from multiple universities, from Stanford, from UCSB, from Oxford, from the top universities and top labs where AI is being built and researched. While we do look for technical expertise, we also look for some of the softer skills and some of the more nuances around how we hire, around attitude of some of these people. Are they people who think big, are willing to take bets, and have the grit to stick it out? I think that's one of the most important things I think in an early stage startup is not so much about, of course, technical expertise matters and the skills they're bringing on the table, but startups are a long journey. So are they in it for short-term flips? Are they in it for just the name that, okay, hey, I work in a startup? Or are they in it for the mission that you're in, right? I think that's some of the things we look for. And I think in this environment, it's very hard to just do a couple of interviews and figure out if a person is the right fit. We actually do short-term projects, like maybe 2 or 3 week projects with someone to actually assess if there's a mutual fit, right? So that's one of the ways we hire.
This episode is sponsored by Mesmo. If you're responsible for reliability, performance, or platform architecture, you already know the problem. Telemetry volume is growing faster than teams can manage it. Mesmo addresses this by moving observability upstream. Instead of storing everything and asking questions later, Mesmo processes telemetry in motion, filtering, transforming, and enriching logs, metrics, and traces before they reach your observability backend. The result is cleaner data, reduced ingestion costs, and faster root cause analysis using the tools you already rely on. Mesmo integrates with platforms like Datadog, Dynatrace, and open source stacks, giving teams more control without adding operational overhead. This is especially useful for platform engineers and SREs supporting complex distributed systems where context and speed matter. To see how active telemetry works in practice, get a demo at mesmo.com/codestory. That's mezmo.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by BrainGrid. Building with AI coding tools is exciting until the moment things start breaking. You ask for a small change and suddenly 3 other features stop working. AI gets confused, misses edge cases, and loses track of your intent. The problem is not code generation. The problem is planning. That is why BrainGrid exists. BrainGrid acts as your product management agent. It writes clear specification, maps UX flows, asks the clarifying questions you forgot to ask, and breaks big ideas into engineering-grade tasks that AI coding tools can build reliably. It guides Cursor, Claude Code, Replit, Windsurf, and others so they deliver features that work and keep working. Founders use BrainGrid to build real AI-native SaaS products without a technical background. If you want reliable features instead of fragile prototypes, try BrainGrid for free at braingrid.ai. That's braingrid.ai.
I'm curious about how you have approached scalability here. I'm curious about stories around scalability and how you've approached it from the beginning, how you thought about it, and then also have there been interesting areas where you can or you expect you will have to fight this as you grow?
At the moment, the bottleneck to scalability is actually access to compute. So we do have partners in some of the hyperscalers who we are working with to gather more compute, because any kind of self-improving AI system needs a lot of compute. Just to run small experiments there, you probably use thousands of dollars of GPU expense. You need a lot of compute, right? And we have directed our AI systems to target extremely high-value problem statements across some of these technologies that I mentioned to you. Getting access to that compute is super important and being able to apply it. So I think the scalability challenge is more from the scalability of the back-end systems, right? Not so much about the front end of the business at the moment. Even on the front end, we actually have a community of about 800 plus researchers in the Bay Area already. We've been running something called the Frontier Research Club for the last couple of months, where we have researchers come and present. Our pipeline of researchers we can work with are significantly high. At the moment, we're just prioritizing problems that AI should be solving for itself, for it to be able to really take off into a self-improving system.
So obviously you're doing something very forward thinking, and I'm certain there's a lot to say here, but as you step out on the balcony, you look across all that you've built thus far, all that you've accomplished thus far with Hexo Labs. What are you most proud of?
I think our ability to stick it out through the early days. My co-founder and I met a little inorganically compared to most other startup founder relationships. Most of the stories you hear are founders who went to school together or were co-workers at a previous company they worked for. My co-founder and I met through a VC fund. A VC fund introduced both of us and then ended up investing in our company. And that's how we started and got off the ground. And it's been more than 4 years now we've been together, and we've stuck it out through the early phase when we were people who didn't know each other as well, but just were aligned on a similar mission and on values of the kind of company we want to build. From that point onwards till here, being able to shape it up into what we're doing is something I would say I'm pretty proud about. There would be a lot of these frameworks and templates that people have for how startups should be built, how co-founders should meet. I don't think those templates are really true. I think you have a unique story and keep walking down your own path. And overfitting or retrofitting templates onto your own story is something that would just frustrate you as a founder. So I think just trusting that your story is your story, I think that's the main part. And I think that's what we're really proud of, that we've come this far now we really dream big about what we're trying to do as well.
I'm curious, Kunal, and it is early, right? But I'm curious if you can tell me maybe about a mistake that you and the team have made and how you responded to it.
A mistake we made in the early days was listen to too many experts, or people who didn't have enough skin in the game and who weren't in our position and had a lot of advice for us. I think one of the things that also took us into many different paths which were dead ends was just listening to too much advice that people gave. At the end of the day, this journey is ours. The context is ours. The insights are ours. I think our ability to trust our own instincts is super important. And to just give you an example, there was a time, I think, when we were trying to, very early on when we were doing our consulting services, we actually had a different thought on how we would like to build a research lab. And I think a whole bunch of people we spoke to shot it down, saying the big labs would do this, the big labs would do that, ABC would do this. And to be honest, nobody's done it. And it's been like 3 years since then. And we could have been the ones doing it. And I think that's one of the things that, when I look back, I think that was the biggest mistake we did, was not trust ourselves and listen to others.
This episode is sponsored by Unblocked. Your coding agents have access to your code base. Maybe you even connected other tools via MCPs. But access doesn't mean context. Agents can't reason across MCPs. They don't know your architectural decisions, your team's patterns, or why the API was shaped the way it is. So agents look in the wrong place and deliver bad outputs. Then you spend time correcting. More loops, more tokens. Unblocked is the context layer your agents are missing. It synthesizes your PRs, docs, Slack, and tickets into organizational context that agents actually understand. So they make better plans, write higher quality code, use fewer tokens, and require fewer correction loops. If you're running Claude Code, Cursor, or any agentic workflow, Unblocked is worth a look. Learn more at getunblocked.com/codestory.
This will be really fun, especially for you guys in this early days, this early launch. And I'm curious about what the future looks like for Hexo Labs, for what you're building, how you're approaching it, your point of view, all those things, and where the industry is going. What does the future look like?
I think the industry is moving towards a place where there are going to be a few big labs which have access to super intelligence and self-improving AI capabilities. And I think this is an extremely powerful technology. Almost at the scale of, say, of nuclear, right? It's that powerful. And the transition that's happening in the AI space right now is not just a platform or technology shift, right? It's not like the transition between personal computers to smartphones or the cloud or one of these kind of shifts. We're talking about a societal epoch shift that's potentially happening on the scale of like how we moved from being hunter-gatherers to farming society to industrial society. And now what's the next society we're gonna be, right? I think it's at that scale. Most people are not comprehending what that actually means and how do you actually build the kind of mindsets and the frameworks to actually operate in such a dramatic change. And in that world, and what's ushering in that world is basically some really advanced AI, which a few big labs are building, and anything else you try to build on the way, it just gets rolled over by them. I think a few weeks ago, we saw the news that Anthropic came out with Claude Design and Figma's shares just dropped. This wasn't Anthropic going after Figma. It was an agent, Claude Design agent, which went after an entire industry. So what we're going to see in the next few years is entire industries get wiped out because a single agent can do all of the work that an entire industry does. So it's going to be a little hard path from a societal perspective and from a jobs perspective, but I think a very exciting future from what those capabilities mean. Because every individual will have access to super intelligence capabilities. And I think there is enough space to take a counter narrative to what do the big labs is, and that's what we're doing. We're saying that the big labs is the ones who are building super intelligence and they will provide it to everyone. But there is space for sovereign super intelligence if you can actually afford that sovereignty.
Okay, Kunal, let's switch to you. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to and why.
It's actually hard to answer that question. I mean, there are a lot of people I look up to, and when I look at some of the decisions they've made and their journeys, it's very inspiring. There are a whole bunch of names around entrepreneurs, people who've achieved the pinnacle of their fields. But I do think there is a limitation with actually looking up to someone. Like you can look at them and say that, okay, wow, they've done something amazing. But at the end of the day, it's so contextual, right? Because the next Einstein will not be figuring out the same equations that Einstein did or solving the same problems that they did. The next Steve Jobs won't be building the iPhone. So it becomes really hard that if you try to copy someone, it just doesn't work for you. So it's interesting to look at some of these people and say, hey, look, they've done some cool stuff. But I think looking at some of the qualities that they imbibed, you realize very quickly that the main quality they imbibed is that they really just had self-belief. And it wasn't so much about anybody else. It was them figuring out how they can make their visions true and trusting their gut at the end of the day. So I think it's a really hard question. I mean, there are a whole bunch of people that I look up to, but at the end of the day, I think it's really about me trusting my own gut.
Okay, Kunal, last question. So you're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world. Can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit several times?
In today's time, any of the playbooks we've seen over the last decade or two do not apply anymore. All the playbooks that a lot of the startup advice that you see, 10-point deck, which your problems, your solution, your MVP, your traction, all that, the standard 10-slide deck template, and the frameworks that people applied to building SaaS companies and companies in the last 10 or 20 years do not apply anymore, because we are facing a tremendous change with AI, right? It's not just, again, just repeating that, it's not just a platform or a technology shift, it's a societal epoch shift, which means that the hunter-gatherer to agricultural transition took a couple of millennia. The agricultural to industrial transition took a couple of centuries. And the next transition, which is from the industrial to the superintelligence societal epoch, is going to take maybe a couple of decades, which means that you really have to think asymmetrically. All your bets have to be asymmetric and not so much point solutions. In fact, there's a 99% chance, if you were to come and pitch to me, there's a 99% chance that Anthropic or Claude will disrupt your business, right? Or OpenAI, or one of these AIs. AI will do the job of what your entire company is trying to do, or your entire industry is trying to do. So in that world, what will still hold true? So our ability to really question what will still hold true in that kind of a world is super important. And I think not many people or not enough people are thinking asymmetrically right now. Because the amount of progress that happened in the last decade will happen in the next 1 year. And in the next 10 years, if we were to just linearly extrapolate the last 10 years to 100 years, that much progress is going to happen in 5 or 10 years, right? 100 years worth of progress is going to happen in 5 or 10 years. So the human mind is not trained to think as exponentially. And I think we need to start training ourselves to think of what exponential curves look like.
That's fantastic advice. Kunal, thank you for being on the show today. And thank you for telling the creation story of Hexo Labs.
Thank you so much, Noah. Great being here.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story.
Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.
Capital One's tech team isn't just talking about multi-agentic AI. They already deployed one. It's called Chat Concierge, and it's simplifying car shopping. Using self-reflection and layered reasoning with live API checks, it doesn't just help buyers find a car they love. It helps schedule a test drive, get pre-approved for financing, and estimate trade-in value. Advanced, intuitive, and deployed. That's how they stack. That's technology at Capital One.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.